Hello, hello, everybody. Here we are coming at you. I'm using StreamYard, so let me know how the experience is for you. Are the lips matching the sound? I did try a virtual background, but interestingly, it threw off the audio, so I didn't do it. So today we're looking at creating impactful events, how you can create impactful events to amplify your business. Now, I know that some people will be listening to this thinking, oh, I don't really do events, or I don't really want to do events. But stay with me because there are so many different versions of what an event means, especially these days when people are so keen to connect once again in real life or online. Just bringing people together, the magic of bringing people together can be super impactful for not only you, but also for your business as well. So, there are a few ingredients or things that you definitely want to consider. There's lots of pieces to the puzzle when running an event. However, it can be huge for your business and for what you're trying to achieve. So, you guys know I love mind maps. So, this is a mind map that I've created with kind of the who, what, why, when, where of events. So, I will add a template, like a little image for you guys to have a look at. But I want you to think of this in terms of your own business and your own people and what you could create. So remember, I don't do the shoulds, so I don't want you thinking, "Oh, I really should do an event." No, but it's like if I were to do an event, if I were to create an event for my people, what would that look like? What would it feel like? What would the vibe be? How big would it be? Like, would it be intimate? Would it be more like 6 spots only, like small? Would it be like a 5-day thing? Would it be a 5-hour thing? What would it look like? Okay, so we're going to go through the kind of the what. That's going to be the first. We're going to go what, how, why, when, where. Let's start off with the what. It might be that you've always wanted to create a retreat. You could do a retreat. You could do an urban retreat. I'll just tell you briefly the difference in my view is an urban retreat might be something where you hire out an Airbnb or a room at a hotel and people come, but they don't have to drive for hours and hours. So it's more of a staycation. So urban retreat versus retreat, where a retreat might be that they have to drive or fly somewhere. They might stay for 3 or 5 days. An urban retreat might even just be like basically a fancy way of saying it's a 1-day event. People may still fly in for it. Okay, so different verbiage, different energy. You might run a workshop. You might run a mini workshop. Ooh, mini workshop. So that sounds kind of less intense, less laborsome for you. A mini workshop might be a half-day workshop, for example. You might choose to do something online. So maybe it's a webinar. Well, for me, generally, the webinar terminology means it's going to be free. Or a summit, also, I think free. Or usually, what people do with summits is they offer a free ticket, or you can upgrade or get the VIP ticket, which gives you ongoing access to all the recordings. So that's another way to do it. Another idea for an online event is, I'm sure you've heard of it, a masterclass. So the term masterclass implies that they're going to get, I imagine, a higher level of insight or knowledge, or perhaps you have to have pre-done some sort of training before you can do the masterclass. It's up to you how you want to use it, but these are terms that people are familiar with. So a masterclass can be online, and usually a masterclass, I would imagine, would have a ticket value, so it would have a price on it. Or it might be an in-person masterclass as well, again, with a ticket price. So we're thinking, you can also do an info class. So I actually did one not so long ago for my coaching club where I decided to run basically an info class or an info session. I did 2 info calls, which were free to attend, but I didn't call it a webinar. It wasn't like there was some sort of content that I covered, and then it was kind of a casual upsell to the coaching club. No, it was an info class or an info session on Zoom, this date or that date. Come along. I'm going to let you know about the coaching club. You can ask questions, etc. So it was very targeted, but that also is a version of an online event. So again, coming back to you, thinking of your business, thinking of what type of online event would be ideal for you to run. You also might be thinking, there's no way I want to organize all the things. I just want someone else to do it for me. So again, there are people that can do that for you, but it's up to you to come up with the vision of how you want it to look and feel, who it's right for, who might attend, etc. So we're going to move into the how. So the how is right around like the how, like how much do you charge and how do you deliver it? Like what platform is it on? What venue do I use, etc. So let's look at the hows. I wrote down platform, price, and package. So we'll go to platform first, meaning where do you actually run it if you're doing it online? Like I mentioned, this is StreamYard, which I'm using right now. You could do an event on StreamYard. You can bring in guest speakers. You could bring in an MC to introduce you, which is always a good idea if you're the main speaker. You can have, like I said, guests or a panel, or maybe just keep it super simple and you live stream into a page, your Facebook page or a Facebook group. So it's not like Zoom where everyone's face is on the screen at the same time. Whereas if you do want everyone's face on the screen at the same time, you do a Zoom. If you don't want that, you could do Zoom webinar or some other webinar platform. So we're thinking now about the delivery. We also want to think about the how for the platform for the tickets. So if you are charging a fee or not, how do they register? So how do they sign up? So maybe you have some sort of email opt-in that you create via your email database. I use ConvertKit. Other people might use MailChimp or Aweber or all sorts of different options. So how do they either register or how do they book their ticket, book their spot? I often will use Eventbrite. Sometimes there's also Event Finder. In my understanding, the difference between those two is as the event organizer, you get paid out, I think it's weekly or something like that with Eventbrite, whereas with Event Finder, you get paid out after the event. So for some people, that's something to think about in terms of the capital and when you need money, etc. But I also just have everything set up in Eventbrite. I literally go in and just duplicate my old event, change out the photos, update the blurb, change the prices, good to go. There's other platforms as well. In fact, I do believe on Facebook, you can now create paid events as well on Facebook. So it really depends, but you need to basically have somewhere to tell people to go and make it super easy for them. It might even be that it's not the type of event where you need tickets, where people need to rock up at the door and feel like they have to show you something or get ticked, tick their name off a list. It might be more of a small event that you're doing, in which case you can literally keep it super simple and you can have your bank account and you say, here's the bank account, just pop your name in reference and I will add you to the list. And then from there, you can email them, right? Maybe you just have a PayPal or a Stripe link that you set up and you just literally private message them with here's the link or link in bio. You might put the link in your Instagram. So there's tons of ways to do it. You just need to think about, okay, what platform am I going to use to register or sell the tickets? And then what platform am I going to use or what place am I going to use to actually run the event? Cool. Let's go to price. Well, this is a whole nother topic altogether. Partly you want to be thinking of your goal. Now, if your goal is to make money on events, it's not something that you're going to make usually a lot of money on. But what happens is sometimes someone will come along to your event. So this is one of my events from back in the day. And they'll hear you speak or they'll listen to, they'll buy your book or whatever. And then they might end up joining your coaching program or becoming a client or referring you to someone else, right? So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, not only the beauty of the actual event and the vibe you're creating, but the magic that can happen afterwards. So as an example for me, this year I've done 2 events called Align Your Life and Business, Auckland. And then I did my Tauranga one and I'm about to launch my Align Your Wellness event. Now, I don't make a lot of money if you look at the price points, and the price points generally around, $35 per person or whatever. And we normally have about 30 people. So you do the math on that, right? And then you minus venue hire, which can be usually around the 200, 300 mark, depending on the venue. And then you minus about 150 for catering. And you're like, this isn't even worth my time, right? So if I literally looked at just the money side of it, it probably it's not a smart business model in my view, but it becomes part of your, I guess, I like to do this, that your business ramp of how people come in, how they connect and get to know you, and what they do afterwards can be magic. I had someone attend my Align event, refer someone to me that wasn't even at the Align event, and then that person booked a VIP immersion day with me, which is a $1,500 offering that I have. Now that's more money than I made from the entire event, right? So it's like, you can see how it's becomes a win-win-win for everyone. The attendees have a great time. You end up getting business one way or another and amplifying your impact. Okay, awesome. But of course, there are a few pitfalls and things that you want to make sure you cover. So we talked about platform, we talked about price, package. You might have, I'll put this down, you might have what I call a this or that offer on your ticket price. So you might go, yep, it's regular price is this much, or the VIP, you also get XYZ. So your VIP offer, so you have 2 price points. The VIP might include a 20-minute coaching session with you to be redeemed within 2 months of attending the event. Normally, this much, like I normally charge this much money, but if you get it as a bundle with your ticket, then you get it at a sweet deal and you have to redeem it within a 2-month period. So that's a cool way to do it. Another way you might do the package is you might run events, but the events are free for your one-on-one clients, or your clients have a promo code and they can get in for kind of a reduced rate. So that's what I'm talking about, when you might create a little bit of a package around your event. And your package might include a goodie bag for people that purchase the VIP. I generally don't really tend to do goodie bags. I've done them once. Again, it depends on your goal, if you're going to have sponsors and the sponsors put things in the goodie bags and all that. Amazing. I also have the package sometimes at my events where people have the option to have a display table. And that's obviously a higher level ticket for them. But usually I want to vet those people. I don't just want some random person booking a display table. So that's usually something I mention, and I get them to come direct to me, and then I invoice them separately. So those are some things to think about in terms of the how. All right, let's move on to the why. So meaning, like, why around your intention? Like, why are you doing the event? Just because I told you to? No. Why are you doing the event? So what is your intention, your overall intention for the attendees? What are you really hoping that they get out of it? What are you hoping they walk away with in terms of knowledge, inspiration, direction? And also, what is your intention for your business? Like, what are you really hoping that emerges from this event that you've created? So getting clear on your why around the event can be really important. And that can help you to create what you call it, how much you charge, and all the other things. Also thinking about your why in terms of the upsell. So thinking, well, what is it that you're wanting? Oh, I'm really wanting to grow my coaching club. So for me, or my business networking group, my Empowered Connections. Okay, awesome. So I intentionally have a networking component to my Align Your Life and Business event, because the networking is part of what I want people to do: mix and mingle, meet some new people, make some amazing connections. And then it's a natural upsell for them to go, hey, I want to meet more of these amazing people. How do I do that? Oh, join my Empower Connections networking club. Awesome. Or this was so amazing and inspirational, but I really need more help in my business. Oh, join my coaching club. So there you can see the natural fit there. So making sure that there's a natural fit with your event in terms of why you're doing it and what your intentions are. Great. Let's move into the when. So this is super important. It's so easy to set up an event and then people are trying to book, but it says like the date and the time, but it doesn't say where it is, right? Or like it's missing one of those critical foundational bits of information. So make sure you've got like the on the event, like the how and the when and the where. So we want to think about the date, we want to think about the month, we want to think about the time and the time duration. So time meaning day or night, which is going to be better for your people, morning or afternoon. Is it half day? Is it all day? Is it a 1 hour event? So you want to be thinking about what suits your specific niche market best. So for example, myself, I work mainly with solopreneurs, so people that work for themselves and by themselves. Well, my people run their own schedule and they're totally available if I give them enough lead time, which by the way, I used to do 6 weeks lead time for an event. I do it a lot shorter now because people don't plan as much into the future as they used to. They're more spontaneous and they're definitely always last minute as well. More on that later. So for me, my people are business owners that work for themselves. I always do things during the day, pretty much during the weekday, during the day. So I keep within school hours and I usually don't do things on the weekend. So that suits me and that suits my people. Whereas you might have an audience. In fact, I'm about to launch a event with a group of fellow coaches who are in the parenting space. So their target market is parents, often parents of teenagers, so we're not doing it as a day. We're actually going to do that one as an evening event. And that's an online event because not a lot of parents or teenagers want to rock up in a room with other people, but they might watch it online. So you got to think about who are your people and how are they going to consume this information the best, what's best for them, but what also works for you as the person running the event. So time, make sure you say the end time so people know how long the event is so they can plan for it. The month is also important. So for example, I'm going to be running a Go-To Girl networking night similar to this. I'm kind of pitching it as the entrepreneur's Christmas party. It's going to be in December, but early December, right? Like December, I think it's the 8th or something. It's like early, like before, or the 4th or something like that. It's way before all the kind of school ceremonies and graduations and shows and such like that. So thinking about, the month that's going to work for your audience as well. Awesome. Generally, as well, I tend to avoid school holidays personally, again, because most of my people work for themselves. So they'll be at home, they'll have kids around, and it's just harder to know what the plan is when you're in school holiday mode. So there you go. So let's wrap up. We're going now to the where. So this is the where. We already talked about online, where you're going to put that in terms of platforms. But if you're doing it in real life, you want to be thinking about what is the vibe that you're wanting to create. Is it more that you're going to hire like a luxe Airbnb with a hot tub and a pool, and that's the vibe? And that might be maybe for 10 people, 12 people, 6 people. Or is it more that you want like a conference room kind of vibe, which, those are very different vibes. So thinking about what is the vibe that you want to create for your event? What is the venue size that you're going to need? Like how much space do you actually need to do your thing? When I hire my venues, often because I want to have some sort of networking component and display tables, but I then want them to go and sit down theater style, I have to choose the venue accordingly. And I generally don't go for like a classic conference room because I like a vibe that's a little bit more unique. And if I do choose a conference room, I will bring in some decor, like I've got these gold rings and I've got these flowers and things that are like uniquely go to girl, my brand. And they just kind of zhuzh up the room to give it more of the vibe that I'm wanting. Awesome. You also want to think about geographic location. So I live in Auckland. I do most of my things in Auckland, but now and then I will do an event like in Tauranga. I've been known to do events, in Wellington back in the day, in Christchurch. But personally, for me, I'm not a big traveler. Like I'm not really that keen on jet setting around the country. So I prefer to do most of my stuff here. But hey, next year I was like, oh, I'd love to do something in Queenstown. Well, maybe I'll make that happen because I'm excited about doing that and that would be fun. And then my speakers can fly in and meet me there, or maybe it's a retreat. So really thinking about, where is the best place for you to do it. The other thought is you might choose to do both. You might choose to do an online event and then a real life in-person version of the same thing. And you can actually promote those simultaneously. So again, you're giving them a this or that offer. Do you want to come to the in-person event in Auckland, or do you want to come to the online event? And it's easy if you have generally the same content, the same branding, whatever, and you just make two sales pages or have two different ticket prices and work it out. So there you go, guys. I hope that's helpful to basically help you create a vision for you creating impactful events for your business, thinking about the what, the how, the why, the when, the where of what you want to create. And then, of course, taking the necessary steps to make that happen. You can totally do it. Some of you have already done it. There's lots of knowledge of other entrepreneurs around, so you can definitely ask questions if you want help to like put something together. And of course, there's other pieces of the puzzle which we haven't discussed, which is kind of the pre-promotion, the presenting at the actual event, like what content are you covering and what are you wearing, and the microphones and capturing it. I mean, for my events, I sometimes hire photographers intentionally, or sometimes I'll hire someone to do some videoing. So there's a lot more pieces of the puzzle to consider. But today's video, I just want you to create the vision, get the ball rolling about what you could create for your people, and then take the steps to make it happen. So if you want more help, like one-on-one help with my immersion day or coaching, contact me. But otherwise, there's tons of knowledge, in the room, so to speak. And comment below. Happy to help.